Without humility, we reflect ourselves and not Christ. Without humility, we reflect ourselves and not Christ. Let me say it a couple different ways. Without humility, the world cannot see Jesus in us or through us. If we don't walk in humility, we block the view of Jesus from other people. And Jesus is most clearly seen in us when we choose humility. But before we talk about humility, we're going to talk about beauty. We're going to talk about how the cross is beautiful when it was not meant to be an object of beauty. Every morning, I set my alarm about 4:20 every day. I get up, sometimes I hit my snooze a couple different times, and my wife will take her left hand and smack me to get up. And I get up, and I grab my bag, I grab my drink, couple different waters, couple different mixtures of things, and I go to the gym. I go, I sweat, I get really, really smelly, and then I come home and I collapse on my recliner. I grab my coffee, I grab whatever type of overnight oats that I made the night before, and I sit and I do my devotions. I sit there and I kind of get my recliner stinky too, because I as well was stinky. But it's great, it's leather, you can just wipe it down. So if you ever come to my house, don't sit in the recliner. Just throwing that out there. I do this, and then the world starts to stir. My girls start to wake up, and I go and I get them ready. Disheveled hair, I get them ready, I put on their clothes, I cook them food. Sometimes the smoke alarm goes off because I'm also getting myself ready at the same time. And then we get up and we get out the door and we go. It's very mundane, it's very ordinary, it's a little messy, but it's beautiful. Beautiful. A sweaty gym, a stinky pastor, disheveled-haired girls, at times microwaved breakfast, overcooked bacon, and alarms going off. Why on earth would I call that beautiful? What do you think is beautiful? What comes to mind when I say something is beautiful? Do you think of the Mona Lisa, the pyramids of Giza, a sunset over the Pacific Ocean, a sunny day when it's only been cloudy here in the Chicagoland area, a baby being born even in the midst of all the mess that's happening there, maybe a wedding, a renewal of vows, maybe a cancer patient who gets to ring the bell when the cancer is finally in remission. There are so many things that we call beautiful. But even beauty, I would say, if we were to ask one another, is different from person to person. What I might find beautiful, you might find not so beautiful. And there are some common ways we talk about beauty, things that are kind of some common agreements that we have in society. One of the things that first comes to mind for most of us is physical appearance. Is that person beautiful? Do they look a certain way? Sometimes we think of wealth and success, what a person's able to afford, the house they live on, how manicured their lawns are or how not so manicured their lawns are. I spent all day doing my lawn yesterday, so it's finally okay. Maybe it's youth. We're constantly striving to continually look younger, always look younger. There's a cream for anything and for everywhere. We want to look younger. Maybe those perfect moments. We capture, we edit, we change. It gets posted online, yet only the poster knows that it was absolute chaos before that snapshot happened. Or maybe it's the nice art, aesthetics, the good furniture that we have in our home. You walk in here and we see this and we're like, yes, this is beautiful. And it's so easy to get caught up in chasing those types of beauty because we have placed value in those things, your appearance, what you have versus what you don't have. But this morning, I kind of want to push back on that. Because I think all those have value, but it's often beauty that we have to manufacture. It's beauty that you and I have to make happen instead of having beauty simply occur. It's not the beauty that sneaks up on us and surprises us in the moment, in life's most normal ways. It's not the beauty that meets us in the morning in a cup of coffee, or when we see a friend at church, or when we're cheering on our kids at whatever sporting event they are, or we're heading to bed and reflecting on our day. I think most of life's beauty is actually found in the midst of the messy. because that is where most of us live our lives. It's not pristine. It's not edited. It's messy. And the central image of the Christian faith, guess what? It's a messy one, a cross. And the message of the Christian faith is for those who have found themselves in the midst of the messy. The beauty that God offers each and every one of us doesn't have to be manufactured. You and I don't have to just gird up our loins and make things happen. It's not on us. But it's experienced every day in ordinary life. And it's in the midst of everyday, messy, ordinary life that we meet Jesus. And our quote today said this: beauty demands to be noticed. It speaks to us directly like the voice of an intimate friend. And if there are people who are indifferent to beauty, then it's because they simply do not perceive it. They miss it. They don't have eyes to see or ears to hear what God is doing in the moment. Why are my mornings beautiful? Why do I use that word? Because I might say my mornings are beautiful, but let me tell you, they definitely do not smell beautiful. It's beautiful because that's real life. It's reality. That's where I have met and felt God the most, in the normal, everyday life. In the quiet, it's in the messy, it's in the chaos where God meets me day after day. It's when I have made a mess, when I have been less than, when I have raised my voice at my kids when I didn't mean to, when I have failed to lead well as a pastor, when I have not shown up as I needed to in a friend in need, when I have made a mess, or when I was a complete mess. It was God who met me there in that space. And God meets us in the mess. God meets us when we are the mess. And trust me, more times than not, you are the mess. And that's okay. But that's the good news. Even when you and I have made the mess, God meets us there. And today we're going to talk about that. Can you see beauty in the mess? Can we see beauty on the cross? And can you and I have eyes to see and ears to hear and perceive that God and beauty is found in the midst of our own mess? We have this icon this week, which is Jesus as the Good Shepherd. And also another icon next to it is Jesus on the cross. For the first 300, 400 years of Christianity, they didn't really present Jesus with the cross, by the cross. You had Jesus as a shepherd or a good teacher, because the cross wasn't something that they wanted to highlight. You saw the fish, shepherd, nurturer, but it wasn't until later, as the faith grew, that the cross became more central. As it reached more cultures and art moved, so did the faith. The cross, Jesus, the Bible, different faith moments started to be painted and shared, and this art took off. Jesus was betrayed, and as so many people could not read yet, the gospel was carried via art. This told the story, because the story heard couldn't be read. And eventually the cross became central. The central image of our faith, Jesus on the cross, beside the cross, near the cross, the empty cross became beautiful. Do you think the cross is beautiful? Because when the Roman Empire went about doing crucifixions, they weren't trying to put up art galleries. They weren't having you come and do a wine tasting with cheese. No, this was a moment of horror. These were horrible moments. These were degrading. Whenever there was any amount of rebellion happening, this would be employed to squash it. There was no hope here. It was a spectacle. It was a way of causing harm, but yet keeping you alive as long as possible as this was happening, as people were looking on. And there was anybody in the audience going, maybe, just maybe, in that moment, any hint or hope of something different was squashed. Rome was not trying to make something beautiful. That was not their intent. But somehow, this moment of horror and terror became a place that we now see as beautiful. The mess of our life meets the mess of the cross. And for me, the cross is beautiful. And it's because of the one who hangs on the cross. Because for me, the cross does not reveal someone wrathful. It doesn't reveal a distant parent or even a controlling God. Instead, the cross reveals the relentless love of God. Perfect love made visible in the lengths that Jesus was willing to go for you and for me. And that is the true beauty of the cross. It's in the hymn, "Love so amazing, love so divine, it demands my soul." And in our passage that was read today from Philippians, Paul captures the beauty of what Christ has done for each and every one of us. An early church hymn that he added in. And I want to read it again, but this time from the Message version. "Think of yourselves the way Christ thought of himself. He had equal status with God, but didn't think so much of himself that he had to cling to the advantages of the status, no matter what. Not at all, actually. When the time came, he set aside the privileges of deity and took on the status of a slave. He became like us. Having become human, he stayed human. And it was incredibly humbling. He didn't claim special privileges. Instead, he lived a selfless, obedient life and then died a selfless, obedient death. And the worst kind of death at that, a crucifixion. Yet because of that obedience, God lifted him high and honored him far beyond anyone or anything ever, so that all created beings in heaven and on earth, even those long ago dead and buried, will bow in worship before this Christ and call out in praise that he is master of all, to the glorious honor of God the Father. It is on the cross that the cruciform of God is revealed. What do I mean by cruciform? Cruciform is simply this. It's on the cross that we get to see the shape that the church is supposed to take. Cruciform is simply a cross-shaped life. When we look at the cross, when we look at Jesus, it has actual bearing on the lives that we live today. And as we model and we are shaped by God, our lives are actually shaped by the one who hangs on the cross. But why this hymn? Why would Paul use a hymn like this? Why not talk about the miracles? Those are more fun. Those who were lame can now walk. The blind can see. The demon-possessed are released. That preaches a lot easier. I would much rather preach that. I would so much rather preach like a health and wealth gospel because it's a lot easier, right? You do all the right things and all the right things are going to happen to you. But for every story that we have in there, we have a story to contradict that, where you've done all the right things and you've gotten all the wrong results. So why would they use this hymn? The humility of Christ becoming like us. And why in Philippi, the Philippians? Philippi was a Roman colony, and there was some very decisive battles that was won there by the Caesar. And that area knew very well what Rome was like, as there was temples, there was palaces there. And this hymn juxtaposes two very different ways of leadership. You have Caesar, the leader of Rome, and you have Jesus, the leader of the church. Jesus came as a slave. Caesar wouldn't be caught dead socializing with those underneath his status. Jesus gave up power. Caesar would hold on to power any and every way he could. Preemptive strikes, killing friend, brother, family member, just to keep power. In Jesus, the new way of being in the world was being revealed. God in flesh came to serve, to love, to connect. And this was the good news. In the Roman world, when the gods showed up, when Caesar showed up, that's not good news. You did something. Humanity was kind of a mistake. We don't really have much of a special status. And so when the gods showed up, it wasn't good news. But when Jesus shows up, it is very good news. It's in Christ that God revealed the lengths of love. The story that we have inherited is rich. Part of the beauty of the cross comes in the humility of the one who hung on the tree. And it's that beauty that is going to save the world. It's humility, modeling our lives the way of Christ. And that beauty has been bestowed upon me and upon you. The call to humility is central to the Christian faith, because without humility, we simply reflect ourselves. We don't reflect Christ. But can I be honest with you? I think we have a humility problem. I jokingly say to my wife every night as we're talking about church, and I'm like, well, the good news is I'm the most humble person you've ever met. She chuckles like that. We do have a humility problem. We do have a problem with admitting fault, changing our opinion, saying I'm sorry, being slow to speak and slow to become angry. It's just not of value anymore. And there's lots of reasons why. There's fear. What if I admit fault and then I'm rejected? What if I show that I have failed and now people won't follow me? What if I look like a leader that doesn't have it all together? What if I lose my job because I messed up? No, instead, I'm not going to say anything because this is my position. This is where I stand, and this belongs to me. Fear, failure, perception, position, power. And our inability to seek out humility, it's crushing us. It's crushing the church. It's absolutely crushing our witness in the world. And it's also crushing our relationships with each other. Choosing to follow Jesus means we choose to follow with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength. To follow Jesus even when it means humbling ourselves as Jesus did, because he is the model for the church, for me and you, for discipleship. And there's a couple ways that we can do this. There's really two ways. You can intentionally seek out humility, or you can have it happen to you. We either humble ourselves, or guess what? Life's going to do it for you. And that second one is not near as fun. So let's talk about that. This is how we're going to kind of end the message here. Let's actually take a moment to ask, where is humility missing in me, in my life? Where might Jesus have been inviting me to go lower so that someone else might be lifted up? We're going to do a humility check, a self-test. And I want to see how you do. You don't have to raise your hand or answer out loud, but this is for us. It's a temperature check to see where we are this morning. And I know it's very small, so I'll read it out. But the first one is this. How do you respond when you're corrected or criticized? Is your first response to be defensive? To say, well, they're stupid, so it doesn't matter? Is that your knee-jerk reaction? Do you regularly serve others in unseen ways without expecting credit? Or are you someone, when you do something, you have to sign your name in the biggest, brightest letters so everybody can see it? Are you more focused on being right or being loving? In conversations with your kids, your friends, your in-laws, your parents, in discussions, especially around political nature, are you more focused about being right, having the last word, that you do that at the expense of relationship? Do you find it hard to admit when you're wrong? Or the words, I'm sorry, sound like a curse word on your lips? When was the last time you truly listened to someone that you disagreed with? Do you live in echo chambers of just people who already believe what you believe? As a church, it's really easy to find ourselves in those spaces. Just a self-test. You're not being graded. This is between you and God. You're getting no judgment from me. You'll never get judgment from me. It's not my place. I don't dole out judgment as a pastor. But this week, if one of these things kind of was a check for you, I want you to try something. There's a couple practices that you can do to potentially live out humility this week. And if the Spirit's tugging on your heart, don't walk away from it. I just want you to choose one. Apologize to someone. Maybe let someone else go first in a discussion. Say, I don't know. It's okay not to have all the answers. Life is very complex. Do something kind in secret just because you want to do something kind. Ask someone to teach you something that you don't know how to do. And then in conversation, when you want to speak, zip it. Let someone else speak instead of jumping in. Friends, the way of Jesus is not a ladder to climb, but it's a cross to carry. It's not the path of power, but it is the path of love. Christ emptied himself so that we might be filled. He bent low so that we could be lifted up, and he died so that we might truly live. And we are called to follow this Savior and do as he did. We do not cling to our status or grasp for more. Instead, we choose to walk in humility, serve in love, and trust that God who raised Jesus is still in the business of raising those that the world has thrown down. Let's seek to become people shaped by the cross, marked by humility, and known by love. Because it is humility which is the beauty that flows from the cross. And it's a love poured out for you, and it's a love poured out for me. And as we end this, we're going to say this prayer together that will be on the screen. So let's say this together.
Thank you for listening to the Encounter Faith podcast. This podcast is a service of G. Shep Productions from Good Shepherd Lutheran Church in Naperville, Illinois. All rights reserved. If you're in the area, we'd love to meet you on a Sunday morning at our 9 a.m. or 10:45 services. At Good Shepherd, we are inviting everyone to walk together in the calling of Christ for a life of eternal impact. This podcast is produced and hosted by me, Ross Cochran. And our theme song is Wake the Earth by 1111 Worship. Thank you for listening. We'll talk again soon.